I was replaced as maid of honor by my sister, who stole all my plans for the wedding. And if you've never watched a person rehearse grace while their ribcage keeps trying to burst into flame, you don't know what it's like to sit across from the love of your life while she swirls ice in a glass and practices not crying. I'm Mason, the guy who irons his own shirts, who has a user manual for the espresso machine and for his temper, the man who thought weddings were timelines until I learned they're living organisms with teeth. You'll hear Lila too, because it's her story really. She's the one who was told she was too much and not the vibe, the one who opened a shared Google Doc like it was a nursery and then watched her sister paint over the walls while calling it innovation. She was supposed to be maid of honor for Rowan, childhood best friend, neighbor before the neighborhood knew how to spell gentrify, the girl who carries bobby pins the way saints carry relics. We've all known each other since teeth were loose and every summer had a soundtrack. When Rowan asked Lila last winter, it felt like balance being restored after a long season of small thefts. The kid who used to hold the flashlight while you climbed the fence finally gets to give a speech with the words you wanted saved for this exact room. Lila did what Lila does. She built a world. Mood boards, timelines, calls with the florist who talks like he's narrating an indie film. A spreadsheet whose tabs had tabs. She wrote a toast that began with a question only Rowan could answer and ended with the kind of blessing you feel in your knees. She booked a brunch tasting and taught herself how to tie ribbon in a way that looks like a breath. She went to fittings and held Rowan's waist while the seamstress pinned what love had earned. Enter Chloe, Lila's younger sister, our family's solar flare. She's charisma wrapped in velvet and crisis. She can make a room clap by simply walking into it late with an apology so sparkly you forget to check the math. She and Lila have been orbiting in tense harmony for years, the way two talented instruments sometimes mistake volume for harmony. Chloe wasn't in the original bridal party. She lived on the coast back then, a DJ by night and a daytime consultant in an industry none of us ever fully understood. Then she moved home to recharge. Then she started coming to brunches. Then she started volunteering. I can help, Chloe said one afternoon at Rowan's, sliding a notebook onto the table like she was auditioning. Music is kind of my thing. Sure, Lila said, careful, generous. We've got the DJ, but if you want to make a playlist for after-party vibes. I could also help with the shower, Chloe added quickly, like she'd been rehearsing the line in the hallway. Games, favors, the whole bit. Lila smiled because she's good at making room. We could use hands, she said. I'm already one spreadsheet away from naming tabs after saints. If this were a movie, you'd hear ominous strings. In real life, it was just the small, faithful sounds of friendliness and planning, the click of a pen, the ping-ping-ping of a group chat, the way emails begin politely before they begin to tilt. Chloe's just helping turned into forwarded invoices with her name on them, into I told the baker we'd do lemon because that's cleaner, into I booked the venue for the shower, I found a better light. Lila kept saying yes to avoid saying no, not because she's a doormat but because she knows the difference between help and a fight, and she still believed we were in the former. The night the switch happened was a Thursday with nothing notable about it but the way it changed our house. Rowan texted, "Can you talk?" Lila and I were on the couch, our legs braided the way weekends are supposed to be. She put the phone on speaker because we practiced transparency like a hobby. I don't know how to say this, Rowan said, then said it anyway. I think Chloe should be maid of honor. The room did something I'm still mad science trying to name. It shrank and stretched. Lila sat up very straight as if posture could protect a person. I'm sorry, she said, not sarcastic, genuinely trying to make sure the sentence meant what it had arranged itself into. It's just, Rowan exhaled. The energy. She brings a fun. And the girls, my cousins, they connect with her. The shower venue says she's been a dream. And my mom thinks. My mom, Lila repeated softly, connecting a dot. Rowan's mother has never learned the art of thinking quietly. What do you think? I think it's easier, Rowan said, and I heard it, not joy, not conviction. Ease. That word has ruined empires and dinner parties. Okay, Lila said, the way people say okay when they are holding the roof up with their hands. Then let's talk details. What do you need me to shift? Rowan began kindnessing her to death. You've done so much already, babe. The shower plan? We'll keep it. The favors? Perfect. The dress schedule, could you share that doc with me and Chloe? And the toast, I think Chloe will say something like, like she knows me, Lila finished for her, but without a knife. I'll send the doc. We hung up. Lila stared at our old rug like it owed her a story. It's going to be okay, she said automatically, the way you pat a child's shoulder after they trip. Then she laughed a small, brittle laugh that didn't belong to her. It's not going to be okay, she corrected gently. It's going to be a lesson. Do you want me to say something? I asked, which is a way of offering to go to war you can't win with someone else's rules. No, she said. I want to see who I am without the microphone. She sent the doc. She sent the slide deck for centerpieces. She sent the vendor list with notes like, don't let them upsell you on ranunculus, they'll try. Then she closed her laptop and went for a run because her body has always known how to move grief even when her heart wants to sit down. For a while it seemed survivable. Lila demoted herself to bridesmaid with a mastery that made me both proud and furious. She bought the dress. She held her tongue during meetings where Chloe unveiled new ideas that looked suspiciously like Lila's in a different font. She clapped for decisions she had made last month. She did what good people do when life tries to convince them they are optional. She kept showing up and did not make a scene. The shower was the first cut that bled. Chloe announced the theme Rowan in Bloom like she'd invented flowers. Lila walked into the space she had booked and styled and watched as Chloe's initials appeared on signage like a brand. The playlist? The one Lila had built for mornings Rowan needed to remember she was allowed joy? Chloe played it. She told a story about how music connects souls and Lila stood in the back and practiced swallowing. After the shower, we went home and Lila took a bath with her hair piled on her head and her heart somewhere between her shoulder blades. I feel like I wrote a love letter and someone else put their name at the bottom, she said through the bathroom door. I don't even want credit. I want the truth, not to feel like a ghost. You're wondering about the toast. Everyone was. Lila's was a scaffolding by then, something her patience had climbed. Chloe's was a performance. She printed hers on thick paper and spoke from the middle of it like a TED Talk. It was fine in the way well-lit things are fine. There were jokes with edges sanded off. There was a tear in the right eye at the right time. There was no lemon, no vinegar, no stink of real life. There was certainly nothing about the summer Rowan slept on Lila's couch and learned to eat again, or the afternoon they measured grief with teaspoons so it wouldn't drown, or the evening they taught each other how to leave a room without making absence into a weapon. Lila didn't want those secrets aired. But she wanted a faint smell of the truth. Chloe burned incense. It covered the air, it left no scent on the clothes. I wish I could tell you Lila broke at some righteous moment on a stage where everyone had to hear. She broke on a Tuesday at 7:20 a.m. when she opened her email and saw the final run of show. Chloe as Mo entrance alone, Chloe with the vows tucked under her title, Chloe taking the rehearsal dinner toast slot, Chloe's name next to final head count and emergency contact and if anything happens. Lila forwarded it to me with a single line, I am a utility bill. We took a walk. We do that when the apartment gets too human. We walked past the bakery where Rowan once cried into a scone. We walked past the park where Chloe learned to skate in a dress because she always learns things in a dress. We found a bench that had seen worse. Lila put her hands in her sleeves like a child and said, I think I need to resign. From the wedding? I asked, prepared to argue, prepared to agree, prepared to carry whatever box of feelings she pointed at. From the friendship, she said, and the words were exact as a scalpel. Not forever. Not dramatically. Just from the version where I'm a prop. We wrote a letter. 2, actually. 1 to Rowan, I love you. I will be there if you ask for me, but not to decorate a story I don't recognize. If you want me in a chair, I will sit and clap. If you want me on a list, I can't. And 1 to Chloe, I'm not angry in the way you think. I'm angry like a person who's been misnamed in her own house. I won't stand on a stage you built with lumber you borrowed and call it a favor. Lila sent them. She turned off her phone. We ate breakfast for dinner and watched an old movie with dialogue that wears suits. She slept with her mouth open the way she does when she's given her body permission to rest from performing. I lay there and learned the shape of peace when it finally finds a chair. Morning brought weather. Rowan called. Lila let it go to voicemail. Chloe texted paragraphs, apologies that were theater, justifications that were scripts. Lila wrote back once, I hope your day is what you made it. Rowan left a voicemail I can recite. I hate that I chose easy. I love you even if I didn't show you. Are you coming if you get to be a guest? Lila wrote yes. At the rehearsal dinner, Lila wore a simple black dress that told the room she knew how to stand there without taking anything from anyone. Chloe's toast was shiny and fine. Rowan's father did the thing dads do when they are proud of a daughter and terrified by their own aging. I read the room with my old habit, who's drinking too fast, who's in love with the bartender, who's looking for Lila's eyes. Plenty were. She kept them for herself. Sometimes she smiled and it felt like a hallway had opened. But she didn't hand them over. Wedding day. The machine hummed as designed. The planner moved like a surgeon. The cousins were glossy. The air smelled like peonies and electricity. Lila and I sat in the fourth row on the bride's side because love has strange math. When Rowan walked in, I heard Lila inhale the way you do when the world does one right thing. The ceremony was beautiful. You don't need me to pretend it wasn't. Chloe cried on cue and did not spill mascara. She passed tissues like currency. She held the train like a person who's practiced being essential. Lila applauded softly and swallowed the line in her throat that wanted to be a sob. The only unplanned moment came after the kiss when the recessional music wouldn't play. A 5-second hiccup. Nothing on paper. But it cracked whatever veneer had been keeping our small city polite. The DJ looked at Chloe for guidance. Chloe looked for a sign. Rowan, the actual bride, laughed the laugh she had before we taught her to make versions of herself. She took her husband's hand and said, "We can hum," and started humming the song herself. People joined. It was silly and perfect and the only thing that felt like Rowan all day. Lila hummed too, and her eyes finally watered in public. Not because she was sad. Because there was the friend she loved, less curated, more true. We didn't stay long at the reception. Our table was near the photo booth where Chloe's friends did choreo for the camera like it was another stage. We danced once slow because my chest needed the reminder that the future is ours, not rented. Before we left, Rowan found us. Her dress had developed the heartbreak of a stain near the hem. She looked like joy does when it has done some work. "I'm sorry," she said to Lila, without a prefix or a paragraph. "I handed your work to a louder person because I was tired and raised to equate volume with leadership. I hate that you had to opt out to keep us both honest." "I hate that too," Lila said. They didn't reach for each other. They let the distance do a minute of education. Then Rowan asked, "Do you want to come to the quiet room? The bridal suite? I need someone to breathe with. No photos." "Yes," Lila said, and they went. I stayed at the bar and drank water and talked to an uncle about train schedules because men will cling to infrastructure when emotions threaten to flood the room. In the quiet room, I am told, Lila did what she was supposed to do all along. She pinned a stray curl, handed Rowan her flats, loosened a seam, told the story of their 5th grade field day when Rowan lost a shoe and still finished the race. They smiled and didn't rehearse. Chloe knocked once, peered in, stepped back. Maybe she learned something too. I hope so. But I'm not writing her ending anymore. After the wedding, after the photos swallowed our feeds, after the boxes of favors with the wrong initials ended up stacked in a church closet like a metaphor too heavy to unpack, after our apartment got back its actual air pressure, we invited Rowan for pancakes. She came with wet hair and a face that looked like it had slept for 4 days. We ate in silence the way people eat when a bad season finally walks off stage. Lila said without drama, "I'm going to ask you for a break. Not from love. From the version of us where I agree to be the spine and you agree to be the dress." Rowan nodded like someone at a 12-step meeting who's finally found the right room. "I'll work on being furniture that holds its own weight," she said. Then she grinned. When I mess it up, will you tell me without writing a PowerPoint? I might draw a small diagram, Lila said, and they laughed because diagrams are love when used correctly. Chloe texted 3 paragraphs the following week. The first was a self-portrait as misunderstood genius. The second was a Google Drive link titled Assets with all of Lila's spreadsheets filed neatly, as if filing had been the sin. The third was a voice memo that started with I'm bad at losing and ended with teach me to be better without me turning it into a performance about learning. Lila wrote back one line, start by not forwarding what you build unless someone asked for it. It sounds petty. It is precise. Precision is how you stop bleeding. Months pass in a blur when you stop rehearsing injuries. Lila and Rowan learn to go for walks again. Chloe gets a gig that requires her to make playlists for strangers and discovers she can be adored where it doesn't rearrange her sister's furniture. I watch and pour coffee and carry boxes and learn my own lesson, how to fight alongside without fighting for, how to be a witness without making my opinion the sermon. If you need a bow, I can give you a small one. On a random Tuesday, Lila gets a package from Rowan, the kind of box that knows it's carrying apology. Inside, a ribbon spool from the wedding, a photo of the humming recessional, a note on paper that has seen a handshake. You were my maid of honor before they invented titles, it says. I will practice saying that out loud before I hand a microphone to anyone else again. Lila lays the ribbon on our table and smooths it the way you do to linens from people who raised you right. We talk sometimes about how easily this could have become our sport, telling the story of how she was replaced, how a sister stole her plans, how the world loves a thief when she's pretty. It's a seductive narrative. It has gravity. But the truth we keep landing on is more boring and more useful. Roles are fragile, people are sloppy, love is heavier than the paper they print programs on. You learn to keep your name on the work you're willing to be known for and to stop donating labor where the economy is built on applause you didn't ask for. Lila wants a last word. She says, leaning on my shoulder, stealing my coffee, getting cinnamon on her lip and not noticing. Tell them I didn't handle it perfectly. So, okay, she didn't. She wrote a couple of texts she never sent that would have scorched earth. She thought about not showing up at all, about leaving chairs empty the way Payne likes to. She cried in fitting rooms and parking lots and once in the cereal aisle because a box had the color of their original bridesmaid dresses. Then she breathed. Then she wrote letters. Then she let her feet carry her away from stages she didn't build. Then affection returned to her like a dog that has finally learned which house is home. As for me, I learned to love the woman who refuses to perform. It is a different sport, trusting quiet power. It makes you clean your own microphones. It makes you say, I'm here, in fewer words. It makes you choose pancakes over speeches, walks over group texts, humming over making a DJ earn his fee. It makes you grateful for the moment a song refuses to play and the room, led by the person who mattered, remembers it can sing. So if you're here, the orbit of a story where you got replaced and your work wore someone else's name tag, this is the only thing I know is true enough to write down. You don't have to get the title back to get your life back. You can resign from the theater without resigning from love. You can hold the ribbon you chose and still clap when the couple walks by and still send a text 3 months later that says, how's the light in your new kitchen, and still mean it. You can be the voice that says when the track doesn't cue, we can hum, and mean it as a way through, not around. And when your sister texts a link to a playlist she made for a stranger and it slaps and she does not ask you to clap louder than your heart allows, you can press play, send a single star, and go make breakfast with the person who learned to stand next to you when the stage lights were pointing the wrong way.